Welcome to Friday. This is Shane Satterfield from GameTrailers.com, and this is Invisible Walls, taking you into the weekend in style with all the latest in game news and debate. All right, and taking you into the weekend this week is Marcus Beer, my arch nemesis from now on, apparently.
Nemesis?
Yeah, you are more than one nemesis.
Wow, I feel honored and flattered, and everybody knows this is all a sham. We don't really argue. We just make this shit up just to touch each other.
We don't really care about what we're talking about.
Exactly. So yes, hello, peoples. I love the world this week.
Patrick Morales is on the show today.
Hail, internet folk.
And Daniel Bloodworth.
Yo, what's up?
And Ryan Stevens is back from his vacation out to the East Coast. How was it, man?
I saw some Nintendos, and we'll put up that picture.
All right. Welcome back. You're sorely missed here on the IW crew, and here we go. All right, first we're going to talk about Battlefield 1943. $15, right, Bloodworth?
Yeah, $15.
And it was pretty much a complete and utter disaster out of the gate, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of time waiting to play the game.
Like, you couldn't get into servers at all.
Yeah, I think the worst I had was like about an hour that I had to wait. Just keep pushing the button, see if I could get in, it telling me there's no games available.
And you're only doing this because it was your job. You probably would add, right?
Yeah, I probably would have just waited until later or a couple of days or something like that. Just, let it pass.
Now, how has it changed since those first couple days?
It's easier to get into games, but on Sunday I had this weird thing where, like, I got into the game, there was only, like, 5 or 6 people, and it was, like, weird. Like, there was, like, 4 of us on one team, 2 people on the other team. And then, like, halfway through the match, like, it just flooded the server with people. So, like, all of a sudden, like, I'm just walking around, and then there's, like, dudes right in front of me shooting me. I'm like, what the heck?
Holy cow. How many people can play max in that game?
It's 24, 12-on-12 teams.
Yeah. And are the maps big enough that you feel like they're the right size to support that amount of players?
Yeah, they're definitely pretty big maps. You want to grab a Jeep if you want to get from one end to the other.
Here's the big question. Why would somebody pay $60 for Bad Company when they can get this for $15? Bad Company 2, rather.
Well, there's definitely going to be more to it. I'm sure this is, you just have the one gameplay mode and 3 maps with another map.
And 3 classes?
3 classes.
Yeah, I mean, Bad Company 2, I mean, they're doing the whole kill zone, like we're having our own separate development team do the multiplayer.
Right, it's a full game, but I'm just saying,
you have the full single player.
You look at the value that you're getting for that $60 versus what you're getting for $15. Isn't that kind of enough?
My problem with the $15 for this is, do you remember back in the day getting the Unreal Tournament demos?
Yeah.
You get like 2 or 3 maps, like different game modes. Like I bought Unreal Tournament 03, and then I didn't play it. I just played the demo because I knew the maps better.
Right.
I mean, it was like a waste of like $50.
That's what I'm saying. Even in Battlefield 2 on the PC, like I ended up playing like 2 of the maps, and that was it. Like I'd go through all the servers, I'd find the 2 maps that I liked, and I'd play those 2 maps.
Patrick, you still play Counter-Strike, right? Mm-hmm. How much of that's just dust?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
So you
wonder. One of the things there too, though, is you really don't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you just hit quick match and you get whatever it throws.
How does character progression work, though?
There's not really. I mean, you get a rank up.
But it's just like aesthetic.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a difference.
No
There's a lot
unlocks.
of little like achievements and stuff within the game because they couldn't give you that many achievements because it's a downloadable game. So like if you get really good with the bombing runs or if you get the top score one match, you'll get a little postcard or stamp or something.
Is this a microtransaction business model so that they are going to release a map and they're going to sell it for $3 and here's a new gun? And
I don't think I think the servers just really shows that like they did not expect this to be popular.
Isn't the
It's a huge
microtransactions
brand,
more heroes?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. There's so many of these.
Oh, yeah, no, Miguel's
Marcus,
playing
do you have
the
any
heroes.
insight on how like they determine like how many people are going to end up buying a game when they put out servers? Because it like doubled and it didn't fix anything. They had to keep
Stream
going.
stats.
Well, I'm actually surprised that EA did underestimate it, especially just going back to E3, and I saw the line to play Battlefield 1943 out in the concourse. It stretched back and it didn't drop for the full 3 days. And you're right, it is a huge brand. Battlefield,
Weren't they doing some kind of a contest at E3 for that game?
I'm not sure if they had a contest, but I know that it was like 50 people in line at any one time throughout the full 3 days, even coming towards the end of the last day. What I will say is that, it does sound like this is going to be microtransaction based. I'm surprised EA didn't put up enough service day one, but I honestly think they're using this as a test bed, you know, to release something over XBLA that, you know, doesn't need a retail box. You're looking at, you know, a much better profit margin. And I'm hearing rumors of like 3 million downloads of this so far.
That's good.
That's amazing.
That's insane. You know, that's insane. That's
But-
actually.
Yeah, I mean, EA is definitely going like all in. Like, did you hear about their new studio, 8-Pound Gorilla?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going all in for like just getting stuff out there. I'm still not sure is $15 this. Like, I feel like at $10 this would have been the sweet
Yeah,
spot, and the
I feel like
$15
that too.
kind of like.
And the other thing too is with them underestimating this, you know, apparently I was telling Shane about this. They like put on the website on the FAQ, almost as if DICE was like shoving EA with a knife. That, you know, they weren't
gonna talk.
they weren't going to be able to put in the real Japanese sniper rifle. They gave them a German sniper rifle because it was already built, and they didn't have the budget to build the Japanese one. Which, like, how much money could that cost?
It's like one dude, like a day's time to
It
model
takes
a
a couple
weapon.
more. It actually takes a little bit longer to model a weapon, and this one just comes from the Red Storm days when I saw them modeling for Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six. The amount of time they spend getting, you know, that weapon
Quality.
working and making sure you got the right ballistics code in there and make sure that it works with the lighting and everything. It actually does take a fair while to model a weapon.
just seems like a really strange thing to like.
And why wouldn't they just get rid of the Japanese in the game then if they can't model
Well,
their
it's a
weapons?
Pacific Theater.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Now, would you recommend someone buy this for $15?
If the gameplay sounds cool to you, I mean, I think you're going to get into it and get addicted. If you're looking for a lot of different modes and stuff, I mean, that's just not there.
$15. Buy it or not buy it?
I'd say buy it. Yeah.
Now the time has come for us to step back into the light.
All right, next we're going to talk about Starcraft 2. A couple guys here have been in on the beta.
Lucky f***ers.
How'd you not get one, Marcus?
I'm scheduled to go on the next one. I'm already
Oh.
registered, but you know, I'm freelance. I'm not posh like you guys. I'm not in house. Oh look, what's that under your shoe? It's me.
Oh, come on.
I know. I love.
Well,
myself.
Mike and Patrick were in on the first round of the beta. So what's your impression so far, guys?
Well, I've always been a huge Blizzard fan, Warcraft, Starcraft, so Starcraft 2 was a natural, hit for me personally. But I'm really interested with Mike's response to it because he's never played an RTS and he really liked it.
Well, I played RTS. I didn't really play the original StarCraft.
Yeah.
No,
Get out
no,
of
no.
correction.
This is a,
No, this is good. I like having this perspective on the game.
So what happened was we got to go down to Blizzard and we got to try out the latest build of the StarCraft multiplayer. It was supposed to be BattleNet and supposed to be a single-player event. Anyway, I got to have some hands-on time with it. We had Johnny C and myself playing it, and it took only about like 4 matches against the computer before I got a grasp on it. It was a little bit intimidating at first to play something like that, but once you just sit down and you just like play with it a little bit, like, you figure out how it works, how you have to manage your resources, building orders, stuff like that. It's really not that complex to play. It's more complex with the strategy and execution end.
Which is why the first game had legs that have stretched for a good 15 years.
Yeah.
And when you're playing at a level with other the AI or another player who's at your level, it's extremely enjoyable. By the 4th match, when I finally actually won a match, it was awesome. And then we started playing with other people, and I had a blast. It is a really fun game. I mean, most people know that already, but for newcomers, do not
Don't
be
be
intimidated.
intimidated.
Give it a try. You're going to lose. It's going to be has a little bit of it takes a little while to get used to it. Once you're used to it, it's a great game.
Yeah,
That's
StarCraft
what-
is the kind of game where it's just as, thrilling as it is frustrating, and I guess Mike had that same experience. One of the lead designers, Dustin Browder, said that he wanted the game to be so easy that even his mom could pick it up. Would you say that was the case for you? Do you find it pretty easy?
I don't know if it would be as easy for my mom to pick it up or something like that, but it is pretty easy just to pick it up and get going. I mean, it's a very simple interface. It's very streamlined. I mean, for other RTS, it has all the fixings of every other RTS you've ever played in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably better, than any RTS in terms of like just the hotkeys and all that stuff. But as Dustin was saying to us, he basically said that like he wants it to not only just be picked up and played by moms, He wants it so that there could be like beginner level players that can get together and create like their own leagues and play together and like get used to, because they want to draw in those beginner level players like myself and other gamers out there, get them hooked on this game, and then advance. Once you start playing with beginners, learn the inner workings, get better, and they want everyone at that hardcore level. That's the natural progression with that game. And this game once you get hooked on it, you're gonna be like, I can't wait to start with the multiplayer beta.
Wow.
I'm putting Final Fantasy
That's a glowing
11.
endorsement.
What races they let you play as? Did you get to play as all three?
They were all
Yes,
available.
yeah.
Yes, Terran Protoss and Zerg were available to play.
So I'll ask Patrick, because I mean, this is the reason that I'm curious, because I played StarCraft and the expansion packs to death.
Brood War, yeah.
So how do the units feel, the Zerg, the Protoss, and the humans? I mean, how do they feel this time with the Terrans?
You know what? I think for a lot of people, it may be easy to dismiss StarCraft 2 as merely a 3D version of StarCraft, but that's really not the case. They've done a lot of creative design implementations that really make it feel fresh. The Terran, for one, they've kind of carved this unique identity of themselves as not only like a defensive, reflexive race, but also one that's pretty mobile. I mean, the Terrans could float their buildings and move around. That was their main thing in StarCraft. But here they can do some unique base building too, combine buildings. They have really interesting new units. And the same is for Zerg and Protoss. So they've done a lot with developing the units and each playstyle for each race.
How has the balance worked out? Because you have this formula that's been so popular for so long. Do you think the people who play it professionally in Korea are going to be okay switching over to this new game?
Well, not only that, but they actually have professional Koreans on their staff who are
That's probably smart.
So they definitely thought of this well in advance. David Kim, who was the one proctoring the match,
it was David.
He was a pro player, I believe.
It was MC Cooper.
Yeah. And again, StarCraft is just going to be extremely fun. It was very balanced from what I could tell. And obviously it scales down pretty well too, with Mike, not really being familiar with the format, but still getting into it pretty well.
I know we did have a discussion the other day about how they do have these professional, the Korean players, like helping with the balance at such a high level of play. We were like wondering if maybe they would the balance at like that high level of play would be good for tournament level players.
But they'd forget about
you. But would they forget how would the balance work, with beginner level players or even intermediate level players? And Dustin had told us that they understand. The first priority is they want to get that balance there for the high level players, because those are the big players who want to cater to. But they will not put out this game until they're confident at every level of play that it'll be balanced. They're not going to just abandon beginners and just
Well, they've been working on it for a long time, so they're spending a lot of time on the balance.
They started on it right after Warcraft 3, so
Yeah.
that gives you a good idea of how long it's been cooking.
Did they say why? Is it just because of the balancing? Why is it taking so long?
Well, the reason it took so long was because of World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Of course, it was immensely popular, so they pretty much got all of the team from StarCraft 2 and had them work on World of Warcraft for a little while.
Gotcha. For a long while.
That's the hearsay, anyway, according to Mike.
Yeah, that was the running answer going
on the
around.
ground.
Yeah.
Well, I know our primary focus is supposed to be the multiplayer, but I've been hearing some really cool things, some interviews coming out of this event talking about the single player.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hearing that there's this whole day-night cycle that you have to get everybody back under cover before the night falls, or otherwise you get ripped to shreds. There's a whole lava section where the lava continues to rise and fall, and you have to get people to higher ground. Your bases get destroyed, and you have to get things done within a certain time frame. What do you hear? Do you get to see any of this, or do you get to listen to any of this?
Oh yeah, actually, single player is one of the most exciting things I'm looking forward to. They mentioned what is that movie? I Am Legend.
Yeah.
If you guys seen it, they wanted to have this one function in the single player campaigns where you can build your base during the day, but at night take heed because the Zerg will come out and attack you because they're nocturnal enemies or whatnot. So they're introducing a lot of interesting dynamics there, not only from gameplay standpoint, but from a design standpoint too. I'm really looking forward to where they are taking the adventure elements. We got a sneak peek of it last year at BlizzCon, showing these kind of Mass Effect style single-player elements where you can converse with members of your ship, draft new members, interact with them, kind of carry out this KOTOR type experience. So I'm really interested more in the single-player aspect, actually, than multiplayer, because multiplayer I have a pretty fair grip of what's going to happen. really good, but I still know what's going on. But single player is still a big unknown, and I really want to see more.
And let's not forget, we've got 3 single-player installments coming. Terran's coming first, and then Protoss and Zerg, so we know we'll have multiplayer out of the bat, so there's going to be a lot of multiplayer action this Christmas. But yeah, I mean, just hearing some of the tidbits coming out with regards to level design really actually makes me happy that they're treating this as a 3-game arc, if you will.
Right.
Because you just know further down the line, they're going to have some really amazing quests.
I know that you mentioned that they had 3 games, and one of the big public outcries of that has been, why do I have to pay for 3 separate games?
Right.
They wanted to make it clear that the Terran game that was coming out first is intended to be the primary game. And then the Zerg and Protoss campaigns to follow thereafter would be the expansions.
Gotcha.
So they wanted to make that point clear. Another thing is that by buying the Terran campaign, you can play with all 3 races, multiplayer.
Gotcha.
So what you're getting in the expansions is just extra units, and it'll be completely detached from people that just have the first game. So there won't be any disadvantages by playing online against people that may have bought the other games.
Well, I think another thing they did with the first game was they scaled it really well to machines. So
Yeah.
anybody could play. You had a piece of crap PC with an internet connection, you could go on and you could play each other. Have they addressed that? Did you talk to them about that? Or scaling for graphics and the whole 9?
Right. Well, Blizzard has always been pretty good about taking mind of their wide user base. And actually, one of the prerequisites for opting into the multiplayer beta right now is submitting your system specs. So I'm sure they're taking a pretty comprehensive census of everyone's specs just to make sure that StarCraft 2 will be playable on each system. As for specific minimum requirements, they haven't disclosed that as of yet. But I have good faith in Blizzard that they'll make it pretty good.
Sounds like positive impressions from both you guys.
Coming this September, the Millennium City Ultimate Tournament of Champions.
All right, Patrick, you're going to stick around so we can talk to you about another game you just checked out with this Champions Online.
Les Champions. Yeah,
C'est vrai? We'll set it up first, right? This is the successor to
City of Heroes and City of Villains, yeah. Actually, the story, long story short, is Cryptic, who made City of Heroes and City of Villains, sold the IP to NCSoft, so they no longer have the rights to that. And shortly after they canned the Marvel Universe Online MMO, they bought out the Champions IP, which is actually a pen and paper RPG superhero game from way back when, and they decided to adapt that into a new.
Let's have to pay what,
MMO
$5
format.
for that?
Yeah. But yeah, that's what Champions Online is, and it's basically the spiritual successor to City of Heroes.
And is it a worthy successor? Because people are still playing City of Heroes. In fact, there are people here in the office who still play.
Yeah, like Megan.
Megan, yeah.
Yeah, she's a huge
Megan's
fan.
a girl.
Yeah. BTW.
What does that mean, Stevens?
I just wanted to make sure people understood.
That Megan's a girl's name?
She's been on the show often enough. Everybody knows Megan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of if it's going to be good or not, the guys at Cryptic are well aware of what they needed to improve with City of Heroes and Villains. And for the most part, it looks like they've addressed those issues here. You're seeing combat that's a lot more action-oriented, of course. But on the grand scale of things, it's still very MMO, like standard WoW-style combat.
Do they have loot now?
They do, and something interesting that they're doing actually is in PvP, when you kill someone, you can actually loot their body, but you won't take their equipment, they'll just spawn something from that. So they're definitely addressing some interesting things with PvP as well. I think one of the biggest strengths that Champions Online is going to have is that it's going to continue its very, very, very expansive list of customization features, which was huge in City
That
of
was the
Heroes.
key of the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it lifting anything from WoW this time around?
I'd say it's probably lifting a huge part of it. Dueling is very similar. Just the combat in general seems to have taken more of a WoW aspect. They're definitely addressing the casual aspect of WoW too, making it a little bit more accessible for people to jump into. And they've also pulled some ex-Blizzard employees in there. Bill Roper, who some may know out there, is working on the game.
Because Hellgate was so great.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a Cryptic now.
What's the selling point, though, of the game? Because right now I'm not really seeing one.
You know what? It's a very acquired taste. It's for those people that like City of Heroes and City of Villains and want something more. It's definitely going to have an uphill battle to fight to kind of wrangle people away from the
I mean,
WoW
you have
crowd.
DC Universe Online
Yeah.
coming as well.
Yeah, which is also aiming to do something similar, making it very accessible and action-oriented.
Have they thought of licensing, like maybe going to Image and just doing like small-time licensing so they could actually fit in some like, you know, other
Real superheroes.
heroes or something like that?
They seem pretty dead set on acquiring champions for whatever reason. Apparently, they really liked the pen and paper system so much that they integrated it within the gameplay. So people that are familiar with the pen and paper game, whatever, 20 people out there, will find themselves pretty, a shoe in here.
Are they doing anything with the persistent world stuff? Because I remember, I mean, that's the one. Other than Ultima Online, the persistent worlds and MMOs have been a pipe dream for the most part.
Right.
But like, I mean, City of Heroes did have the whole
Architect.
you have your secret headquarters and stuff like
right.
that. Is there anything like that? And I guess Final Fantasy, you had a house, right?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy
You
11.
also had in EverQuest, you had the chance to EverQuest 2. You could have a room that was
A room.
yours. Yeah, and then you could decorate it with your trophies and stuff like that.
Are they doing anything on that end though?
I personally don't know if they're doing anything on that level, but something about City of Heroes that was pretty popular in the past few update patches was that people could create their own campaigns and share them with other people to play on the live servers. And that seems like a pretty cool idea that would be nice in here in Champions Online, so I'm hoping that they do that.
But didn't Neverwinter Nights do that a long time ago?
The modules.
Yeah.
And you could DM. You could
Yeah.
be the dungeon master yourself.
Yeah.
Speaking a funny voice.
I bought City of Heroes when it first came out, and I played it religiously until somebody actually slipped me a copy of WoW. as soon as I started playing WoW, I saw all these things that were wrong with City of Heroes. So I haven't played it in a long time. It sounds like City of Heroes has evolved a lot in the last 4 years.
But it always sounded like, I mean, just from talking to gamers and stuff like that, is it was always like WoW is definitely the champion, ha ha ha. But I mean, City of Heroes was, I don't know about subscription-wise, but runner-up-wise, it was the one people had the most fond memories of. Because people hated EverQuest, but they played it anyway. It was like an abusive relationship.
It was a great game when it first came out, 'cause it was something different. I think that what WoW did was WoW came out and did everything else really well. I mean, it wasn't necessarily genre-defining, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it did everything so consistently, and it did have a better quest system. Now I think the quest system's improved out of all recognition. So I'm actually tempted to go back and try City of Heroes and see if I can rejig some of my old heroes.
Well, it just seems like Champions Online, when you described it the whole time, you're like, well, it does this like this, and it does that like that, and it just didn't seem like it really has its own hook.
Yeah, again, borrowing from other games isn't necessarily a bad thing, but maybe Champions
Borrowing it all from other games?
Yeah, Champions maybe takes maybe a little bit too much. It definitely has its own identity still, of course, with its superhero theme and the whole customization bit. Personally, as an MMO player, I'd like to see more from it.
All right, so as promised, Monty is back to show off Dead Fantasy 4. Now set this clip up for us a little bit, Monty.
This Dead Fantasy 4 is another setup as far as things I wanted to introduce. It might be a surprise in the middle, but also I wanted to create a sense of both immersion and fantasy at the same time. I not only generated more assets, but really worked on my camera work this time around, as well as just a lot of workflow issues as far as putting as much on screen as possible. Lots of good going on at once, explosions, really really get that effect going. So what you're going to see is really hectic, like wartime immersion, and tweaking those curves, moving all those lines around, trying to get you to feel like you're actually there.
Now, what is your favorite Dead Fantasy? Dare I ask?
Well, if I had to have a favorite, it would still be 2 because it's like that same generation sequel. I came off of 1, all the assets were made, not much work had to be done as far as making new stuff. So all the work went into making this awesome. So it was like, that's why it was so easy to make just pure 10, 11 minutes of awesome, because all the other stuff was already done. It's like, that's why usually the 2s and all those trilogies are so great. Everyone hates the 3s because you kind of get in over your head.
So the question I have to ask is, how much time do you put into the boob jiggling? Because I mean, having seen these, and
is that built into Unreal?
I mean, yeah. Who writes the code for the jigglenomics?
I do it all by hand.
And so do most of our viewers.
But I do it only when it's important. So like
When is it not important again?
It's important when it's too far away for you to see. So like when those boobs when those boobs are in your face, I gotta really touch them up, make sure they move like as if you would expect. So it's
Boobs really don't move though, unless a girl is like doing jumping jacks. That's it. In games. It's like if they turn their head, their boobs move. Like that's not how it really works.
And they have 3 dedicated teams of programmers working on that, and that's why you don't make $10 million
that's
a
the
game.
thing.
Best job ever.
I am those 3 teams, so I gotta have those 6 hands on boobs.
And do you do a lot of research for that?
I guess since I only have a limited amount of first-hand experience with those at those size, I'll just have to say I just imagination.
You're winging
it's all
it.
in my head.
All right, without further ado, Dead Fantasy 4. All right, now we're going to get to the moment probably everyone's been waiting for, at least thinking was going to be in the show, or maybe hoping, or maybe not hoping was going to be in the show. Last week, Marcus and I got in a spirited debate over the amount of money developers make off games, how much the retailers are paying for games from publishers. Neither one of us really had a definitive answer on anything last week. We were just both kind of working off anecdotal evidence, what I had been told by publishers, what he had been told or seen from working inside publishers. So we decided to reach out to an expert to get the information so we could bring it to you guys and let you know which was the right answer.
We know experts?
Yes. I can't share who the expert was because he gave us this information and I don't want to jeopardize any sort of relationships he might have. But I think we can all say and agree that he's right.
I am not.
We can trust this guy 100%.
I'm not going to question the validity of your mum.
Of the data, yeah. So, just to refresh, if you guys did not watch the show last week, we were talking about how much publishers sell games to GameStop, Walmart, places like that for, and then in turn, how much profit do those places make, and then ultimately, how much money do the developers make off of those sales?
This did spring from the Left 4 Dead question, will Left 4 Dead 2 be ported to PS3? And you quoted a figure, and I said that was kind of bobbins, and then we went back and forth over the...
I said Valve would make $10 million off a port of Left 4 Dead 2 sold at... If they sold 500,000 copies.
And you said that was $10 million pure profit, which is what you
said. I said Valve would make $10 million off of Left 4 Dead 2 if it sold 500,000 copies.
And this
is exactly what I said.
This is where we'll put the soundbite in from this week.
So you don't think there's any money to be made by porting this to PS3, though?
No,
Yeah, what do you say? You don't think they're going to make $10 million in profit from porting Left 4 Dead?
What I'm
now let's
saying
get
is,
to the base of the argument.
My base is your figures are off.
They will make $10 million from porting Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2 to the PlayStation 3.
Pure profit?
Pure profit.
No.
You're crazy.
You know why?
You are crazy.
Because that's what I took umbrage at, because I don't think that this particular game will make $10 million.
Well, the stat that we really argued over was how much the publishers were selling the games to GameStop for. You said it was $20 or $25. I said it was $50. I said it was a slim profit margin. You said it was a huge profit margin. As it turns out, they buy each game for $48 a piece.
And I was wrong. I got my figures wrong, and they were based on, as I actually said to you after the show, and I did put up on we had that text go up saying that they were based on 2005 figures. I got my figures wrong.
To quote the guy who provided the stats, your colleague is confused and mistaken.
Well, your colleague was full of flu back. Look, I got my figures wrong. I admit. I hold my hand
way
up.
wrong.
I got my figures
And then
wrong.
what did you say to me? What did you say? What were your exact words? Did you work at a publisher? No. Well, then shut the f*** up.
And you know what?
Did you work at a publisher?
Several.
Then shut the f*** up.
You've been waiting for that. So let's go back to the crux of the question, which was the thing.
The profit that Valve can make off the game.
The profit that Valve can make off the game.
So at $48 a game, they sell $500,000. They make $24 million. So you're saying of that $24 million, Valve will not get $10 million of that?
I don't think that Valve will make $10 million in pure profit.
You don't think Valve will get $10 million from the sales of the game?
I don't think they will, not on the PS3 version, which is what we were talking about. And I'll tell you why. I mean, yes, you take out EA share, which is not going to be a huge amount because they it's more of a brand association thing for them, but they still charge for distribution, sales force.
Well, they're strictly distribution, aren't they?
But they still do all the selling in and stuff for Valve. Then there is the cost of goods, the marketing, transportation, etc., the fee to Sony with regards to.
So yes or no, you do not think Valve will get $10 million of that $24 million for a game that they created from scratch and all EA did was distribute it?
I don't think they will because, and this is I've done a little bit of digging just on some sales
I think
figures
you may be
general.
like splitting hairs here. I think they may end up getting $9.3 million.
All right,
are we just talking about the port though, or are we talking about all production costs?
A port.
How much are you paying someone to port something?
Well,
Monty said you needed a few extra people on each team to do a port.
Well, I mean, but last time they didn't use
it.
But Orange Box wasn't even ported by Valve. They had a
and this is where I'm thinking it's probably going to go to another company because Valve don't have the infrastructure as yet. They're still recruiting people. They probably don't have the engine up and running on the PS3 in any decent shape or form. So they're going to have to go to somebody to do that for them. It's interesting that we don't even know when the game's going to come out. So I don't if they were making $10 a game in pure profit, then they'd sell they sell 1 million copies, $10 million.
But are we piggy banking the costs?
Hang on. This is just me, putting out a generalization. If they have to, if they make $5 a profit per game, pure profit, they have to sell 2 million units. Now let's go back to the Orange Box, which the figures that we've seen for the lifetime sales on the PS3 are 200,000 units. And then I've also got a list here, which I did show you with regards to how many games have actually been selling on the PS3 and how they've been selling. Biggest selling game is 5.6 million is GTA 4. Then you go all the way down to the other end of that top 10, which is Ratchet and Clank at 1.2 million copies.
But do you think that Left 4 Dead 2 will sell 500,000 copies? I do.
I think it will. I think it would probably sell 500,000 copies, but I don't think it will make $10 million in profit. And that's the crux of the matter. It's something we're going to have to go back and research. And maybe your source can come back with something. And look, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I was wrong about the figures. I hold my hands up.
I'll say one thing. I'm not going to trust any of your figures from your internal publisher
really
stuff anymore.
Dude, I was sick as a friggin' dog last week, and I'm relying on.
Now he's pulling the illness card.
And I'm relying on this brain, dude. I don't even know which way is up most of the time. So if you believe anything comes out of my brain,
I honestly wouldn't even have cared until you tried to
obfuscated?
say because I'm a journalist. I don't know. That's what offended me.
I was just look.
You tried to say I worked at publishers. You didn't, so you don't know what the you're talking about. And as it turned out, I did know what the I was talking about, and you didn't.
You still talking about this whole pure profit thing?
I still believe they'll make $10 million off the game. I'll still stand by that.
You have to take into account all the other things that go into it, like the overheads, the cost of everything, down to refilling the free soda machine.
And I think they'll get $10 million for an IP that they created out of $24 million of revenue.
I think if the game is half as bad as the Orange Box on the PS3, they'll be lucky to sell 200,000 units.
I don't think Valve would sell another game with its name on it as bad as the Orange Box was for the PlayStation 3. I just don't think that their quality standards are too high. I don't think they'd let it happen. I'm surprised they let it happen the first time, in all honesty.
So I'm admitting I was wrong on the figures. To all and sundry, I got those figures wrong, and they were based on my history. I think we should still try and figure out, because I think it's interesting for people to know how much people do make out of the games. And
honestly, for our audience sake, I think really what they wanted to know is how much frickin' money is GameStop making off these games? Because it pisses them off that when they go back in the store and they're charging them another $60 or $50 for a used.
Well, they're not
game.
making money off of these games. They're making, like you just said, they're making money off the used games.
Well,
right, and that's really what I said last. That was the whole argument last week. Is
they're
that
still making
they aren't making
$10
squat
a game
off new games or off hardware. They make all their money off of used games, and I think a lot of people get pissed off. They spend $60 for a game, take it back to GameStop after they beat it 3 days later, and then their friend has to walk up and pay another $50 for that game. It's just a scam. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Invisible Walls, a monumental one, I might add.
Well, it's about time you got something like me.
Nah, I know. I'm wrong all the time.
So am I, apparently.
It's tough being wrong, but
Is this
it's good to be
for
right
anyone
this
else?
time.
Was there anybody else on the show this week?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have people talking about games. I think you and Ryan had a little spirited discussion there.
I don't remember. Where am I?
Yeah, you're back from vacation.
This isn't New York.
So next week we're going to talk about old Coke against new Coke. What do you reckon? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I think that one's pretty cut and dried too. But,
And Shane will reveal the mystery of Philly cheesesteaks.
yeah, Monty will actually be back on the show again next week. He'll be showing off the very last iteration of Dead Fantasy. That will be Dead Fantasy 5, I believe. He'll be showing that off as a tease, and we'll blow out the full thing the following Monday. Don't forget, stick around to Game Trailers. Next Monday, we'll have Dead Fantasy 4 in its entirety exclusively on Game Trailers. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Peace out.